Welcome back to the channel. RacerX here, and today I'm back with my good buddies at Courtesy Dodge Jeep Chrysler Ram in Tampa because I wanted to put together a short video on things you can do for your manual car. So many of you guys have asked me to do more content on manuals. I realize I don't do a ton of stuff on the manual cars, and I thought, you know what? Today is a great day to get out, showcase one of their really cool manual Mopars, and then tell you about some mods that you can do to your car. Definitely some things to think about for you manual folks out there. So if you guys are brand new to the channel, don't forget, hit subscribe right over here, and off we go.
T-minus 15 seconds.
And directly behind me, I actually have a random minivan. I'm not real sure why or what that's doing back here. It is what it is. But I also have a 2023 Challenger Shakedown wide body in manual. So as we know, 500 of these wide body manual cars are going to be made. They also make the Shakedown package in a Destroyer Gray 8-speed auto that is not a wide body. But this is really a neat car to showcase because today it is all about the manual. What mods can you actually add to your manual car, whether it's an RT, whether it is a Scat Pack like this one, or even a Hellcat, to actually make the car better to drive. Well, today I will tell you about it. So let's take a closer look. For those of you that follow me a lot, you probably realize that I have already done the review on the 2023 Challenger Shakedown. And of course, that car was gray. That was not the wide body car, but I really like this particular package. The black with the pops of red look really good. I mean, take a look at the hood right over here on the side. That 392 really pops on the black, and it's just an overall really good looking car, the black wide body with the Shakedown package. So I figured I would just go ahead, give it a little walk around. I love the fact that this is a manual. I still really love a well sorted manual car, whether it's a Challenger, a Mustang, whatever it may be. It's still a lot of fun to drive a manual car. But yeah, really good looking package on the 2023 Shakedown. I love the black shaker right here. Let's have a little look at the inside. I realize I have reviewed a lot of different cars for you on this channel in manual. And while I feel like some manuals are really, really good, I've never really had a lot of great things to say about the manual Mopars. And one of the big reasons why is because of the shifters in these cars. I love the fact that it's a 6-speed. They're still a lot of fun to drive, but I've always kind of maintained that the shifter in these cars feels unnecessarily sloppy. I feel like it's just a really big, kind of cumbersome shifter. I feel like there's a lot of slop and play in the shifter, especially when you're used to driving other cars. For example, the Camaro shifter feels like a bolt action rifle compared to what comes standard in the Challenger. So that's always just been a big drawback for me. So let me actually kind of show you what I mean. The inside of the Shakedown is a really nice place to sit. I love the pops of black and red, and I really like the kind of carbon fiber accents that they give you in this car. But just take a look at the shifter really quick. And I mean, if you see, it's just a very big, kind of cumbersome shifter in this car. I don't understand why they did it with, this way with this particular car, but it's always just kind of been a drawback. And I mean, even, you know, I feel like the gears are pretty far apart in this. Like I said, it's all relative, but just having driven a lot of cars, I feel like this is one of the sloppiest shifters on the market. And yeah, I mean, look at the play that this has in the shifter. It's just a lot of play. It just feels really kind of sloppy to me. This thing is brand new, and this is a $70,000 Shakedown package. And I just feel like they could do an awful lot more with this particular shifter. That being said, I feel like the #1 and the best mod that you can do for your manual Mopar is to simply get an aftermarket shifter and have it installed. I actually did a review on one of my subscribers' cars a little while back. He had a Scat Pack, same power plant as in this car, and he, I believe it was a Barton shifter he had in that car. And that car had a completely different driving personality, and it really felt like a bolt action rifle, and it made the driving experience much more enjoyable for me. I don't know why Dodge could not have done this from the factory, why it's such a sloppy kind of, you know, feeling shifter, but it really is, and it's easily fixed. All you have to do, you know, Barton makes some, B&M makes some, Hurst makes some. Just put an aftermarket shifter in the thing, and it really does take a lot of slop out of it, and it feels like a completely different car when you're driving it. Amazing what a difference it makes.
All right, if you'll walk up here with me. little things like the Barton shifter in there.
Oh, nice. Sure enough. Now, one of the things I've always said about the manual Scat Packs, I've never been a huge fan of the SRT 392, the Hellcat, the Scat Pack, any of them in the manual, because I always felt the shifter felt really sloppy, but you fixed it.
Yeah.
Through the Barton, and that's a good shifter. And they should come from the factory like this. I really do feel like it, because it makes the driving experience completely different.
I agree. I agree. It's so much snappier. You can literally just grab onto the factory shifter and you can wiggle it around without
It's just so sloppy. I will say, he really did solve the issue with the manual transmission in this by throwing this shifter in it. This shifter feels really nice, very precise, and that's what you need. In a good manual, it's all about the shifter. Listen to this thing.
It does not get old.
It doesn't get old. A gentle little second gear. This thing is really good. Besides the long and cumbersome throws you get with the stock shifter in these cars, another thing that it does is it does skip shift. And I freaking hate this feature. It's something that Dodge had to do basically to meet CAFE regulations. But essentially what's happening is you go from first, and if you don't have enough RPM in it, anything like that, it will make you go directly to fourth. So you don't get to put it in second or third. Essentially, the car fights you to be able to put it into the gear you want to. It's just a very odd, cumbersome feature of these cars. Don't like it, but they do make skip shift eliminators. I highly recommend it. Relatively easy to install, and it lets you drive the car the way you actually want to, and really the way that Dodge intended. So that's another mod that I would highly recommend. One of the things I've always maintained about the automatic Mopars is the fact that they come with a pretty darn good transmission. So whether it is the RT or the Scat Pack that come with the HP70 or the Hellcat variants that come with the HP90, those transmissions are really solid. They do a good job of shifting. They hold a fair amount of power. Just really, really good for those cars. However, on the manuals, you get the Tremec or the TR6060, and I feel like that transmission really is lacking a little bit, and there's not really a whole lot you can do unless you're going to go to a completely different transmission. But the gearing in it is 390, and you can definitely change the gearing in the back of the car to make the car feel a little bit faster, because as we know, the automatic cars and the Mopars, they are way faster, especially at the track. That doesn't mean these cars aren't fun to drive, but I feel like maybe with a slightly different gear in it, the car really does feel more lively to drive. Now, I've actually had an opportunity in the past to drive a Scat Pack with a 410 rear gear, and it was an absolute ton of fun. Yes, it does want to light the tires up that much more. On a wide body car like this, it helps because you have wider tires, but it just made the car feel more lively and more fun to drive for me. And at the track, the 410 gear will typically help you out quite a bit. Really, the only drawback is the fact that your top speed will be reduced by a little bit, but you're not going with a crazy drastic change on the rear gear. I'm going from a 390 to a 410 isn't really all that crazy, but it really makes a big difference in how the car drives, especially with that shifter, aftermarket shifter like I talked about before. That is a winning combo in one of these cars. Now, I will say that Dodge did a pretty darn good job with the clutches in these cars. This clutch is actually very easy to engage. It's very smooth, and it's not real herky-jerky like you would find in a lot of aftermarket clutches. So a really nice smooth clutch in this car, so that does help a little bit with the driving experience in these. So here's the thing about the manuals, and it is really kind of sad, and it's just a sign of the times. They are going away. I mean, everybody's going to either DCT or just straight automatic transmissions. And yes, I realize they're faster, they're more capable, all that kind of stuff. But there's so many nannies on the cars nowadays that it really does take the driver out of the equation in almost every way. I mean, anymore, even your most basic cars have so much technology built in, you almost don't even have to hardly drive them yourself. And when you get in a car like this with a 6-speed manual in it, and you get to row through the gears, listen to the exhaust, it really takes you back to a day where it was just pure to be a muscle car guy. And with this big shaker sitting out in front of me, and it really is a just pure driving experience. I don't know what else to say about it, but for those of us that grew up like a long time ago, I don't want to date myself too much, but it really does sort of take you back to a time when driving a well-sorted manual car, it just, all the driver experience is there, and it's not quite so mundane, and there's just something about it. One of the things that my car buddies and I have always said is sometimes it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. What I really mean by that is, yes, this is not the fastest Scat Pack out there. Manuals just aren't as fast. I don't care how good you are at shifting, how much you practice, you will not be as fast as the 8-speed automatic cars. But like I said, this car really does put the driver back in the equation, and you feel so connected to a car like this when you drive it, and it's just something pure about the driving experience. And so when you go to wind a car like this out, I mean, just listen to it. It's a whole different experience. Oh, listen, hit a gear, there it is. Man, I still really like it. This is exactly why I told you I preferred the wide body black car in manual versus the gray car in the automatic that I drove for you guys and reviewed. This is just a more fun car to drive. Yes, I realize it's a little bit lacking here. Like I mentioned, it would be so much better with the right shifter in it and the right gear, all that good stuff. But this is still a really fun car to drive. I think it's the better looking of the two cars, and I'm just a big fan of the car. And so yeah, if I could just change out those three things, this car would be really close to perfect. Now, you can still do all of the other mods that I've talked about for the RTs and the Scat Packs and all that kind of stuff on this car. Just because it's a manual doesn't mean you can't add things like a taser, a Hellcat lower air box, and there's a whole bunch of mods I've talked about in the past that will give you a little bit of extra power and kind of optimize what you get here. It's just you get the added connection with the car with this, so something to think about. Big shout out to my guys over at Courtesy Dodge Jeep Chrysler Ram in Tampa for letting me borrow their beautiful Shakedown Challenger wide body. Fun car. All right, one more time. Oh, it sounds really good. I realize I have done all sorts of videos in the past talking about mods you can do for your Scat Pack, for your RT, and for your Hellcat. I just wanted to focus on some things you can do for your manual. I really do like this car, a ton of fun to drive, and it could be even better with just a few small little things changed to it. What do you guys think? Do you have other options on the manuals that you like to do? I would love to hear it in the comments down below, and I will catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.